Hey everyone, it's Dominic, the Primetime Treasure Hunter. Welcome back to another video. You know, it has been a while since I've done a video for you on the psychology of negotiating and strategies that take place between buyers and sellers. And I know a lot of you, like Tiffany Moody, really like those types of videos that I do. And I've wanted to do another one for you in a while, like a follow-up video, but I wanted to have a couple of scenarios to take you through, like a couple of vignettes, that sort of thing. And I have a few right now that I want to take you through. Some of them are based on situations that have occurred to me, and some of them are based on situations that have occurred to others. And I actually just had a question that I'm going to start off with that came into my Facebook group, the Facebook Reselling Resource Center. If you're not familiar with that group, the link is down below in the description section, so come on by and join. But the question started off with, okay, Mr. Psychologist, here's a situation and what would you do here? And just so you know, if you are brand new to my channel or brand new to my Facebook group and you're wondering why someone would say, okay, Mr. Psychologist, I do work full-time as a board certified neuropsychologist. So that's the perspective that I am bringing to this. Now, I'm actually going to that job in just a few hours. I'm packing up an item that I want to talk to you about as part of this video, but I'm going to start with the question that came into the Facebook group. And here's the scenario, and as I describe this to you, you kind of figure out in your head how you might handle the situation. Then I'm going to tell you why this situation is occurring and how I would handle it and how I have handled it in the past. The same situation has happened to me. So the situation is this: you have an item that you're selling for $39.99 and someone comes in and offers you $21. Now, one of the things we've talked about on this channel before as a psychological technique is to try to meet the person in the middle so you both feel like you're giving the same amount away. And so that is a strategy that could work provided that you source the item low and that you're still making a good profit on your item. Now, the seller in this situation countered at $29.99, so not literally in the middle, but close enough to make it work. So $29.99 is the counter. In fact, if you think about what the seller did in that situation, the seller's actually meeting a little bit more in the middle. Is actually giving away a little bit more than the buyer would be giving away. So 24 hours go by and the seller doesn't hear anything. Now, the person has 48 hours to give a response. So 24 hours go by and a new counter offer comes in. Now this one from the buyer comes in for less than the original offer. So remember, the original offer is $21, so now a new offer comes in for $20. So it's lower. What do you do in that situation? Now, there are a couple of responses that came into the Facebook group in terms of what to do. One response was just let the person kind of stew and kind of wait it out. Another suggestion that came in is just play the person's game and give them a counter offer that's higher. So you offer them like $39.98 or something like that, higher than your original offer. And then another one that came in was to just decline and move on from the situation. Now, before I tell you what I would do, let me kind of just explain to you what is going on in this situation. I don't know what the exact item is, but what the buyer is trying to do in this situation is they are trying to assert psychological power over you, leverage over you, by letting you know, one, I don't need your item that badly, and furthermore, by sending you a counter offer that's lower than the initial offer that was sent to you. What the buyer is trying to do is communicate a message to you that they are not as interested in obtaining the item as they hope you are as interested in selling it. That's what they are trying to prey off of, which is seller desperation to get rid of an item and make a sale. Because they know many people who make these offers, by the way, are people who sell themselves. They've been in these Facebook groups. They've been in these YouTube chats. They know the desperation that some sellers have. And so they try to prey on that. Now, the way to know that the person may be bluffing in this situation is through research. So you need to know, what is the track record in terms of what this item is sold for? Is there a track record of it selling between $29.99 and $39.99? If so, that gives you confidence to know that some other buyer should come along and purchase it if you're willing to walk away from this person who's playing games with you. The second thing to do is to know what is your current competition on the market for the item. So if your price is the lowest at $29.99, which is the counter offer that you made, and the person can't get it anywhere lower than $29.99, you're the one actually who has all the leverage, because if you walk away from the situation, you're basically telling that person, where are you going to go to get the item if you really want it? So another thing, by the way, is a little trick, and I've talked about this in other videos, is look at the person's name and look at their feedback, and sometimes there's indicators as to whether or not the person is interested in this type of item. So for example, if you're selling a comic book and the person's name is Spider-Man 56 and it's a Spider-Man comic too, or they have some other name or a track record of purchases that's related to what it is that you are selling, then that's a good indicator as well that they really are interested in the item. Now, the feedback doesn't exactly say what they purchased. It doesn't show the items, but sometimes the feedback that comes in actually says something like, thanks so much for purchasing X, thanks so much for purchasing the comic, or something like that. So that's a way you could get an indicator as well. So what I would do in this situation is I would actually walk away. Now, some of you might be saying, no, you should never decline. And that's another myth. I've talked about that in another video. I'm going to actually put the link to that video at the end of this video. But that is a complete myth, and I'm going to tell you why in just a few moments. But why am I not doing the other things that were suggested in terms of just waiting it out, another 48 hours and letting the person stew in it? Well, the reason why I'm not doing that is I really just want to move on from this situation, and I don't want to play games. Like, that person is playing a game. I'm trying to run a serious business. I am not trying to play games with people. That's the same reason why I'm not going to counteroffer at $39.98, because I'm really just wasting time. The person is not going to make that purchase, and then that person's going to come back with a silly offer of like 15 bucks, and it's just going to go back and forth. And I have other things I need to do. I am here to deal with serious people who want to make serious purchases from my business. That's it. And if I'm willing to make a reasonable counteroffer to you in which I'm giving actually a little bit more than you are, and you're still going to come back and offer me a lower price, then you're not serious. And again, I'm not here to deal with people who are not serious. So what I would do is I would decline, and I've had one or two things will happen in that situation. Either the person's not going to respond, which happens sometimes, but you will be surprised how many times the person will then send you a higher offer. And if they do that, what you do in that situation is you stick with that $29.99. You do not budge off of it. You do not come down to $28.99. You do not come down to $27.99. You stick at $29.99. You assert the leverage that you are the one now in charge of this negotiation. You are the one who sets the price. And if that's what they want it for, then they could get it for that price. If not, you're willing to move on. Now, for those who are going to tell me that if that person walks away and if I wasn't willing to lower it another dollar or so, that I'm losing a sale, again, that is a myth. Some of you might think this is a lot, some of you may think it's a little, but in doing this part-time, essentially, I've made $8,000 in the last 60 days using this type of negotiation approach, and it works. So I heard recently somebody say, well, you should always make sure that you send in some type of counter offer. Never ever decline, no matter how low the offer is. And extreme example was given of someone had an item up for sale for $100, and a person literally offered $5. Now, what I would do in that situation, I would actually block the person, because it's so offensive of a strategy. And some people will tell you, you can't bring emotions into business, and to some extent, you do want to limit that, but at the same time, you should be emotionally invested in your business. Why not? And if someone's going to send in an offer that's that disrespectful to, what you're doing with your business, then it's completely fine. You don't have to get mad and start throwing things, but it's totally fine to just calmly say, you know what, I don't want to interact with this person. I'm just blocking them if it's that extreme of a low ball. Now, the counteroffer, I shouldn't say counteroffer, but the counterpoint to what I am telling you is someone will say, well, if you counteroffer the person at, say, $80, then someone will say, I've had a situation where someone might make that purchase. And they'll say, if I didn't make that counteroffer of $80, then I would have lost $80. In my opinion, that is the complete wrong way to look at it. And the reason why is, again, goes back to what you know the established market value is. And if the established market value for that item is somewhere between $90 and $100, and you just gave it to someone for $80, because they offered you $5, that person pretty much won in the negotiation by using that strategy. And now you've reinforced that person to use that strategy with other sellers. And I like basically, making sure that the seller is the one that has the leverage in these types of situations, so buyers are not reinforced to keep going on and doing this with other sellers. Because my experience with this is that if you actually hold firm, again, based on market research, if you hold firm on it, you can actually make that sale to another buyer for either your full price of $100 or somewhere close to it. Like maybe another buyer comes in, gives you a realistic offer of $80, and you meet in the middle at $90 and you make the sale. So I could flip this around to someone who's going to say that they took that $5 offer and sold something sold it for $80. By making a counter offer on it, that you may have lost $10 to $20 by doing that. The other thing to keep in mind is for any anecdotal situation like that, the chances that that strategy is going to work is very low. I'm not saying it never can, but the chances of it working, like if you try that 100 times, I can't give you exact stats, but I'm just giving a hypothesis here. If you tried that 100 times, you had an item for $100, someone offered you $5 and you counter offered at 80, how many times do you think that you spent making a response like that sale is actually going to go through? I would say probably 1% or less. Okay, so I'm not going to waste my time in that situation. And it relates to real life. So for those of you who are familiar with purchasing a house, for example, and you have to make an offer on the house, what do they tell you? What does your real estate broker tell you every single time? They tell you, make sure you make a respectful offer, because you don't want to put off the seller. And if you put off the seller may not want to interact with you anymore or entertain any other offers. So this strategy of never ever declining offers that come in just doesn't match what happens in real life. And furthermore, while we as sellers try to follow certain guidelines and rules sometimes that we impose upon ourselves in terms of how we're going to relate to buyers, what about the buyers? Okay, where is it that ever the buyer has to think about having any kind of decorum in terms of how they send an offer into you? So why isn't it that buyers shouldn't say to themselves, hey, you know what? I should make sure I send in a respectful offer, because if I don't, the seller is going to get mad. Like, why is it always on the seller that the seller has to be the one that says, oh, I better never offend the buyer? I mean, give me a break, okay? You have to be able to have a fair situation in which there's a little bit of give and take, but it can't be all one-sided, okay? You can't give away your business. You can't give away your items. You have to know what your items are worth. You have to know what the current marketplace is, and that is how you're gonna be able to make a good deal. Knowledge is power, and that's what's gonna help you. And let me take you through one last situation, which has to do with this item that I have right here. So this is a Pottery Barn cocktail sign. It plugs in, it lights up, it's really cool. Pottery Barn is a hot brand, and if you've ever gone into a Pottery Barn, that their items are expensive. And for items like this that you can't find anymore, they don't sell this item anymore, they're generally in demand. Now, you may remember me purchasing this over the summertime for $10. And when I purchased it, one of the reasons I purchased it was based on some market research that I did on the spot, which showed that someone had sold this exact one for somewhere around $100. I was pretty close to it. And so I said, all right, I'm willing to spend the 10 bucks on this because I could get a good return on investment. So I had it up for initially for somewhere around that price range. And then each week went by and I was lowering it. And I had watchers that were there from time to time. I made sure I double checked my titles, my pictures, everything about it looked good. There was nothing wrong with the description or anything. There's no reason why it shouldn't sell. There's no defects in the item whatsoever. But, you know, markets fluctuate and markets change over time, even from month to month. But I do know, based on my market research again, that someone was willing to pay around $100 for this item. So again, I kept lowering it week after week after week, and eventually it got down to $49.99. And now, as many of you know, I do best offer and buy it now on almost all of my items. But there are some items where I will eventually get to a point where I say, as I just talked about, I'm not giving away my items and I'm not giving away my business. And so there's a certain point where I say, all right, this is where I need to be on the item. Like, this is the minimum I could go. And for me, it was $49.99 because I have $10 invested into it, and I've got to figure it's going to cost me around 10 bucks to ship it. So, like if I use cubic rate shipping or something like that through Pirate Ship, so that means I'm going to make around $25, $30 profit on it when all is said and done with the fees and everything like that. And that's fine. I'm fine with making 25, 30 bucks on it, but I don't want to make any less on it. So I had the price set at $49.99, and I would get 4 watchers, 5 watchers, 6 watchers, 7 watchers, and they would run it up all the way to the end of that 30-day mark, and then boom, wouldn't purchase it. So I have a choice, right? I'm gonna relist it, and am I gonna relist it at $49.99 or am I gonna lower the price? Again, use that market research to tell you what to do. I put it right back up at $49.99. This goes back to what I was saying earlier. You have to basically communicate to them. It's the same thing. When they do not make that purchase when there's 7 watchers, those watchers are trying to tell you and they're trying to call your bluff. We're not going to pay that price. You're going to have to lower it some more. But again, if you have the data to back up that you know someone's willing to pay even double that price at one point, then you could feel confident sticking with where you were at, in this case, the 50 bucks, the $49.99. So put it right back up. And now you're communicating to them by doing that, no, you know that that is the right market value for the price and that you're not budging off of it. And it might take 2 cycles, 3 cycles for that item to move, but eventually, as just happened tonight, this one sold for $49.99 after having it up $49.99 with 7 watchers and recently not selling. So I relisted it, $49.99, someone came in and purchased it. So to do this, you have to have confidence in yourself and you have to have confidence in your items. As a disclaimer to what I'm telling you here, if you have an item like this that is terrible, that is not worth $49.99, and you keep putting it up at $49.99, and the market research tells you it's worth $29.99, everything that I told you tonight does not apply. It only applies to whether or not you know you have data to back up that your item is worth what it is valued at. And in that situation, I'm encouraging you to be strong, be confident, communicate that confidence to the buyers in your interactions. Be respectful. I'm not telling anyone to be disrespectful, rude, have any mean conversations going back and forth. I don't engage in any of that kind of stuff. You're either willing to deal with me or not. I'm willing to make a deal with you. I'm willing to negotiate with you. I'm willing to give you, $5 off, $6 off, $7 off, whatever the case may be for the item. But if you're going to play games and send me a counter offer that's less than the first offer, sorry, I'm out. And that's fine. You could do that. Have confidence in being able to do that type of stuff. Now, if you have questions or comments or you disagree, let me know down below. That's fine. Just keep the comments respectful. That's all I ask. And that's pretty much it with this video. I mean, I hope these different situations kind of help you out and kind of give you some confidence going forward, because I know it's a topic that a lot of people struggle with, is doing these negotiations with the buyers that come in. And a lot of people tell me, and this is another reason I want to do this video, is that these lowball offers are demoralizing. A lot of people feel that way. They feel kind of beaten down by them, like they're excited. You know, I went out, I sourced this item, I know that it has a particular value, and then I put it up and someone offers me $5, $10. Okay? So flip that demoralization around by turning it into jubilation, by letting that person know you're not giving it away for that price. And if they walk away, having the confidence in yourself to be able to do that, and the jubilation comes in when the next buyer comes in, either buys it at your current price or gives you a very respectful offer, and you're able to make a deal with that person. Once that happens a couple of times, then you will be especially more confident in doing this approach that I'm talking about going forward. So hope this video helps. I do want to thank Leslie Cooper Wiley for sending me this item that I purchased from her in our Seller-thon. This is the Doctor Who TARDIS t-shirt. I love it. Thanks so much, Leslie. I bought a lot of cool shirts from you, and that Seller-thon has really been great for a lot of sellers. So come on by. We do that once a month where we have a seller supporting Seller-thon in the Facebook group. The link is down below. Also, I do plan on doing, I have it all planned out, plan on doing the final video for that estate sale series where I'm going to take you through all the tips. I just need enough time to be able to do it properly. I have everything all set up for it. But you know, I've got to go to work my other job pretty soon, so I don't have the time to do it right now, but I am going to do that hopefully by the end of this weekend. So I'm sorry for people who have been waiting for that, but that is coming soon. Just a little suspense for that one. And finally, make sure you hit the like button, make sure you subscribe, make sure that you come again over to the Facebook group and Instagram. That's @prime_time_treasure. See everyone at the next video. Thanks everyone. Take care.